When was the last time you heard a tale that sent chills down your spine? Brace yourself for this one, because once you hear it, you won't be able to unshake the images it paints in your mind. Welcome to the Nightside Archive. Tonight, we dive into the screams under the Iron Dome. Tucked away in Eastern Europe, in a remote wilderness hidden amidst jagged mountains, lies a military installation known only to a select few. Officially, it's described as a defunct Cold War relic, an abandoned missile defense base from a bygone era. Unofficially, it's whispered among soldiers and villagers alike as the Iron Dome, and not for the reasons you'd think. Last summer, a young soldier named Luca was stationed there as part of a small maintenance unit. According to Luca, the mission was straightforward. Secure the perimeter, check for structural decay, and report to command. However, Luca's tone changes when he speaks of his third night at the dome. It's the way his voice drops into a whisper when recounting it that grips you. He insists that what he experienced was very real, though what he encountered defies explanation. It started with an oddity on their radar. The equipment's outdated, Luca said, but it shouldn't be picking up motion under the base. There's solid rock beneath the concrete. Nothing moves down there. The team leader dismissed it as a glitch, an echo or interference, perhaps. But that same night, the generator powering the base's lights faltered, plunging the dome into total darkness. You could hear the quiet, Luca explains, until you couldn't. That's when the screaming began. It was faint at first, distant, like the echo of someone shouting from far inside a cavern. But the dome wasn't built over caves. It wasn't built over anything natural at all, or so Luca had been told. He and his unit swept the grounds with flashlights, confirming absolutely no one else was there. Yet the screams didn't stop. Do you know what's more unnerving than hearing screams in the dark? Luca asks. It's realizing they're coming from below you. The sound seemed to reverberate through the steel beams and reinforced concrete, growing louder and more desperate. Luca's teammate, Anton, joked nervously about the base being haunted, though his hands trembled on his flashlight. Trying to shake the unease, they decided to investigate the next morning, rationalizing that an animal might have somehow burrowed underneath and gotten trapped. By morning, the screams had stopped. However, the team discovered something that left them more disturbed than relieved. Buried away in a corner of the compound was a heavy rusted hatch stamped with symbols none of them recognized. It had been welded shut multiple times and then bolted over as if someone had gone to great lengths to lock something in or out. Scrawled across it in flaking white paint were 6 words in Cyrillic. Do not attempt to open this. Luca swears they were under orders not to leave any corner unchecked, even one bolted shut, so they radioed their commanding officer. After a long silence from the other end, their team leader was told to abandon the inspection. Leave the hatch. Do not proceed further. Orders in hand, they moved instead toward other parts of the base, though they left the hatch lingering in their minds. The following night, the screaming returned, only now louder. This time, Luca described it as inhuman, guttural, as though it wasn't just one voice but multiple, wailing, sobbing, and yelling incomprehensibly. The generator failed once more, plunging them into the kind of darkness that eats away at your sanity. They double-checked the security footage, only for their monitors to display snow and static. I can't overstate how wrong it felt, Luca shared. Every instinct I had screamed at me to run. Against orders, Anton proposed something reckless that night. They retrieve equipment from their vehicle and cut into the old welds sealing the hatch. He argued that if something dangerous lay beneath them, it was their duty to neutralize it, or escape it if need be. Reluctantly, two of the team sided with him. Luca, however, recounted a growing dread in his chest that turned his blood cold. "Do not open that." Those were the only words Luca could say. I begged them, but the others were resolute. Together they returned to the hatch and began slicing through the ancient seals. As Luca stood back in horror, flashlight gripped in one hand, he tensed for what was coming. The cutting torch hissed, metal shrieked, and finally the hatch gave way. What followed was chaos. Anton and the others were immediately overwhelmed by a rush of foul air, so putrid that they doubled over, gagging as if it were trying to suffocate them. From where Luca stood, he could see dark shadows writhing below. A pit, he described, filled with movement that made no sense. He caught sight of a hand, or what he believed was a hand, clawed, pale, and impossibly long. The screaming stopped, Luca says, though his face still drains of all color when he recounts this. It didn't fade or trail off. It just stopped. The absolute silence that followed paralyzed all of them, but within seconds, something from below began to climb. The group scattered, slamming the hatch shut. They resealed it as fast as their quivering hands allowed, before abandoning the dome entirely. Luca says he reported the incident, but an official investigation was never conducted. The hatch remains sealed, as far as he knows, humming with a darkness none who witnessed it will ever forget. Luca's story is not unique to this base. Whispers of similar screams have been reported at other outposts from Eastern Europe to the abandoned bunkers of America's coasts. Coincidence or something far more sinister? Few dare to find out. What would you have done if you were there? Thank you for visiting the Nightside Archive. Subscribe for more tales that will keep you checking the dark corners of your room tonight.